Hello, my name is Kern Ramsdell, and I'm the guy behind Home Recording Weekly. I do a lot of recording and mixing and mastering here in my home recording studio, but more to the point, I am a local sound guy for a couple of bands, and I work around a couple of venues. So it's on a local level. Today I want to talk to you about the Mackie DL32r digital mixing system. We just recently purchased one and incorporated it into one of the bands I'm working with. And I had a bunch of fears, a bunch of concerns, as the band did. And I thought I would make this video for you guys. If you're thinking about getting a digital mixing system and you're on the fence and you have some concerns like I did, hopefully this video will help you. Now, I got to tell you, I don't work for Mackie. I have no attachment to Mackie whatsoever, or any of these products that I'm about to mention. I don't work for any of the music companies or anything like that. I need to give you guys a snapshot of the band, where we were at before we had this band meeting where we were talking about, things had to change. It's a cover band. They do 80s music. And they're getting to a point where they're selling shows out in advance. The shows that they're creating online are selling out. We're selling all the tickets. So they thought, we've got to step up our production. Now, their shows were plagued with feedback. We were using a Mackie console, a 16-channel mixing board, and I love it. I love analog mixing consoles, especially Mackie boards. The 1604s are great. That's what we were using. And we were, those have 4 monitor sends. 2 of them were being eaten up by reverb and delay. So we had 2 monitor sends. One of them was a in-ear that the drummer was using, and that left 1 monitor send for the rest of the band members. That's 4 were using monitors placed in front of them that were all the same monitor send. That means they couldn't have more vocals, they couldn't have more drums, whatever they wanted. They couldn't customize their monitor send. Now, some problems that they were plagued with was feedback. Feedback was such a problem that I went out and purchased 8 channels of gates, compression, limiting. I bought EQs for the monitors. I had to EQ the monitors before each show to try to tame the out-of-control feedback. If you guys are still using monitors, then you understand how that stuff comes out of the monitors into the microphones and creates a loop, and it can ruin a show very quickly. Also, these guys were tied to the monitor. They couldn't really move around because then they couldn't hear. So they wanted to go with in-ear monitors. Now, when you buy a digital mixing console, it doesn't come with in-ear monitors, but they needed up to 8 monitor sends that they could customize. And that is just one of the features that these digital mixers like the Mackie DL32r have. In fact, this one has up to 8. So that was something that we were talking about, looking at. But we didn't want to make the purchase because they're not cheap. They're like $1,800, right? So we had a band meeting and we were talking about all of the benefits, the pros, the cons. To go to a show the way that it was, we had a truck full of gear plus 2 vehicles. I mean, we had the mixing console attached on a big rack with the delays, the reverbs, EQs for some of the channels, and then I had my compression gates, limiting. I had EQs for the monitors. We had an amp for the monitors, amp for the mains. We had EQs, stereo compression for the mains, stereo EQ for the mains. So we had racks and racks of gear, plus a 100-foot snake that I had to purchase and then lug around, and I was tethered to that snake, to that console, wherever we played, and I was always in the wrong place. I would literally walk away from the mixing console to hear what the band was doing, and then I would come back and make my adjustments. That was insane. I mean, if you can't hear where you're mixing, what the heck are you doing, right? Things had to change. The feedback was out of control. They couldn't move around. They couldn't hear very well. That means they can't play very well. So things had to change. I had some fears with the digital mixing system. I didn't know, I mean, I love faders, knobs. I mean, I'm constantly tweaking as a show unfolds. I'm setting delay times, panning things around. I'm moving faders and groups of faders, turning things up and down. I didn't think I could do that with an iPad. I was really worried. I mean, it kind of looks like a toy. That bothered me. Let me tell you, that's a load of garbage. The difference between before and after we purchased the Mackie DL32r is night and day. The band has never played better. They've never sounded better. First of all, we were able to get rid of the monitors, right? And the monitor amp. They're gone, which lightened our load. It increased our setup time. It got rid of feedback. Each band member can adjust every single level. You know, the more me syndrome, they can turn up the vocals, they can turn up the guitars, whatever they want to turn up in their monitor sends. One thing I didn't know when I bought the Mackie DL32r is you're going to need to purchase a wireless router because it's a computer. It has its own Wi-Fi system, and you'll probably want to buy a spinning hard drive. And I'll get into the hard drive in just a minute. It unlocks an incredible amount of features. So they purchased in-ears and immediately realized they sounded better. They could move around the stage for the first time. They didn't need to be tied to monitors. So we wanted to get rid of all of the stage noise. And we're almost there. We have one guitar amp left that we're trying to get to a rack mount unit. But the bass player doesn't need an amp. The drums are digital. Our practices were getting so loud and the feedback was such a problem because we were using monitors, we were using the mains. In our heads, we could dial in the show at practice. We could get everything perfect and then we could go to the venue and just set it all up. Well, it doesn't work that way. When you get to the venue, you realize that the space is what you dial everything into. I had to start over from scratch every single venue that we played in. I had to set everything up start to finish, and it took, you know, a couple hours to do that and to do it correctly with the band, checking one mic at a time, playing as a whole. I never felt comfortable about how good they sounded or how bad they sounded when the show started. I just never had enough time to finish. So the Mackie has 32 inputs. On each of these 32 inputs, on the DL32r, there's an EQ, a compressor, a gate, and a limiter on every single one of those. They're digitally controlled preamps, which means you can set it up and then save it. So when let's say we tear down after a gig, and then we come back to the practice house. When I turn the mixer back on, I open up practice. It's a show that I've saved. Every single setting is opened up and done. I don't have to dial anything in. There's no reason to check anything. It's done. When we go to a venue that we've already played at, I'm going to plug everything in and then open up that show and be done. You can save every single show. Once it's dialed in, you can save it as the name of that venue. Next time you get there, all of your work is done. Imagine the time you're going to save. I had concerns. I didn't think I could control the show with an iPad. Well, not only do I not need a 100-foot snake anymore, you don't need a snake. You set this thing, the DL32r, right on the stage, guys. You don't need to lug around a snake. And I'm mixing wirelessly. I'm untethered. I'm roaming around the facility, mixing as I go. I wonder what it sounds like over there. And I walk over there and I listen. So it's really cool. I can move as many faders as I want at any time. I adjust knobs. I tweak things. I'm tapping in delay times. It's insane. Since we're talking about the Master Fader app, like I said, each band member has their own monitor mix. So I've got the Master Fader app on an iPad, and every input is color-coded. I can choose the color. I can group them. There's bus tracks. So I'm actually using bus compression on the drums, on vocals, and the bass. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. You don't need it. With this band, I thought I needed that. And there's also VCA tracks. So for example, our keyboard player has 8 mono sends. He plays 2 keyboards, 8 sends into this digital mixer. I can control them all with one fader. It's the VCA. So you can imagine how much better. Oh, and you can actually use pictures or icons for each track. So I can easily look through and see where the drums are, where the bass is from the colors and the icons. Another cool feature is when you save it as a show, like the name of the venue, you can get rid of everything you don't want to see. And you can only, so that you can only see what you want to see. So you don't have to scroll through all 32 inputs. You can only have 4 if that's all you need. So that was very cool. If you think about it, we were able to sell the Snake. I was able to sell my compression, my EQs, my stereo compression, my monitors, the monitor amp, the monitor EQs, and it pretty much paid for most of the DL32R. Oh, and the mixing console, and the rack that all that stuff was in, and the effects, all gone, because it's all in the Master Fader app, all of that stuff. So I'm untethered, there's no feedback. We fit everything for the show into my Jeep Cherokee. Everything, the mains, the amp, the digital mixer, and the wireless receivers, it all fits into my Jeep, the whole show. So they've never played better. Each band member can hear everything they want perfectly, and each band member can go wherever they want, and they hear perfectly wherever they go. They've never sounded better for that reason. They are so much tighter. They're on time. There's no complaints. There's no more me. I don't even have to think about monitors when I get to a show now. It's all done for me with the Mackie, the DL32R. So lightened our load. Setup time is so much easier now. There's no snake. I'm not tethered. Let's talk about some features. If you play with the click, the DL32R is going to be your best friend, because you can send each band member as much click as they need or want. That's where we're at. We're incorporating playing to a click track, and it's so simple. Once you do these things the first time, you realize it's not difficult. You don't need a degree in computer engineering to understand this stuff. It's laid out like a musician. It's laid out for a sound guy. It's so easy. But it's kind of scary until you do it the first time. Once you do it, you understand it's easy peasy. So each band member now can have a click. You can play MP3 files from your hard drive over the system. So if you play music in between sets, boom, you just drop them on a hard drive, you're done. We used to record the shows with a little portable recorder set out in the crowd. So we'd get people talking, we'd get wind from fans, we'd get movement from the dance floor, but we had a stereo recording for our use. Well, you can record stereo recording through the Master Fader app to your hard drive, or you can record multi-track. I can record up to 32 tracks. I can record the whole show to multi-track. And in fact, I do now. I record 32 tracks, I bring it home, I open it up on my digital audio workstation, and I can mix it. I can pan things around, I can EQ, I can compress, and I've got some sound snippets for you guys, the whole before and after. Not to show off my mixing, because I just quickly mixed it for the band to show them the power that we now have. But I'll show you. I recorded right straight from the preamps, and then I went ahead and I put high-pass filters and compression, a little bit of EQ, and pan things around just to show the band what's possible. If you're looking for a way to burn CDs of that show that you just did and sell them to people on the way out, this is your ticket. This is how you want to do it. You want to get the Mackie DL32R. It's that insane. It's that fast. It's that cool. I mean, yeah, we're just starting to unlock the potential of recording and burning CDs, sending click tracks, playing MP3 files, things like that. But you will need that spinning hard drive in order to pull that stuff off. So just to recap before I play some music for you, our show, it's half the production it used to be gear-wise. We got rid of so much gear and we're not looking back. We don't miss it. I'm not tethered anymore. There's no feedback, and they've never sounded better. Make the leap. There's nothing to be scared of. I can mix the show with an iPad just as accurately as I could with the mixing console, and there's no hype. I'm not lying to you. I don't work for Mackie. I'm not, in fact, any of the companies that you see in my video here, I don't work for any of them. I'm an independent guy, and everything I tell you is the truth. Now, if you still have questions or concerns for me, if I haven't answered them in this video, please come to homerecordingweekly.com. On the About Me tab, you can find my email. Email me your question. Leave a comment here on YouTube if that's what you'd like to do. That's fine. I will answer them honestly for you. As a live sound guy for local bands and local venues, that's my mindset, and I will answer it for you. If you're looking for a way to record bands as a service, man, the Mackie DL32r is a 32-track recorder, right? You can record up to 32 inputs for people as a side income, easily. All you need to do is bring the DL32 to the show in a hard drive, and you're done. I'm not tethered anymore. There's no feedback. They've never played better, never sounded better, and we bring a fraction of the gear. I'm afraid I've left some stuff out. I've mentioned that it's all recallable, all of the routing, inputs, outputs, and every adjustment you can make. I've said, oh, there's 2 different Reverb Sends. There's like 4 reverb types, maybe there's more. There's halls, there's springs, there's plates, there's mono and stereo delays in there, and you can run 2 effects at a time, or 3 effects. 2 delays and 2 reverbs and 1 delay, all at the same time. And you can adjust the send return levels. It's just insane, the power that's at your fingertips. So, for example, I'm running a snare reverb for just the snare, and I'm running vocals and through a reverb and a delay, and it's a stereo delay or a mono delay, and it's tap tempo. So, you know, things are dialed in like never before, and you can raise and lower the effects per song, and I do. What I'll do is I'll tap in the tempo for the delay, and then I'll bring in the delay till it sounds right, song to song. Some songs you don't want any effects at all, some you do, and it's so easy. Once you're done dialing in at sound check and you save it, your work is done. All you got to do is ride faders and walk around. I used to get critiques all the time. People would come up to me and say, hey, you know, can't hear this or that well, the feedback, you know, have you tried doing this for feedback? That's all gone. The few shows that we've done since we've got the Mackie DL32, it's been people come up to me and saying, hey, they've never sounded better, the feedback is gone, or they're curious as to what I'm doing. What are you doing there walking around with your iPad? Are you actually doing something? Are you videoing them? And I say, no, I'm actually running sound, and you know, nothing but questions. I'm not showing off, I'm just saying things have really changed since we've incorporated the Mackie DL32r into the show. There's been no complaints. Everything is a bonus on top of a bonus on top of a bonus, and I believe it's paid for itself already. So if I haven't answered your question in this video, please leave me a question or a comment and I will answer it for you. And I have some before and after video, some before and after audio for you. And it's not before and after the Mackie DL32. Some of it is, but the audio is as I've captured it from the preamps, the recording, and then I quickly mixed it, and I just want you guys to hear the before and after. So again, the Mackie DL32r, we had a bunch of reasons, a bunch of fears, and they've all been squashed. So if you're thinking about getting the Mackie DL32r, man, I say go for it. It's gonna improve your show. There's gonna be no negatives attached to it. At least we haven't found one yet. Thanks for your time, guys. I hope this video review, tutorial, I don't know what you want to call it, but I hope it helps you.
Time, see what's become of me.